Hello there, friends, and welcome. Well, not surprisingly, it all began with a group of fearless females on a mission to prove that it was possible to create an innovative brand of luxury-inspired makeup at excellent prices. Now, this mission led to the birth of Catrice Cosmetics. So today, I'm going to try almost a full face of Catrice products so you can see how they perform on mature skin. And I hope this might help you determine if some of these Catrice products might be your cup of tea as well. Some of these products are longtime loves of mine, some are brand new discoveries, and some I'll be trying for the very first time today. And what's even better is that a number of them are on sale. If you're stopping by this channel for the very first time, I am so glad you did, and welcome. And if you're returning, a very big thank you. The goal of this channel is to celebrate and support those of us who have reached that 5th decade and beyond and have seen just a few changes when we look in that mirror. So as a makeup artist who's passionate about helping us look like the very best version of ourselves, I focus on the makeup tips, techniques, and products that can help us look and feel our very confident best. And we occasionally also delve into the realms of fashion and wellness. Now, let's go all in with Catrice products. For those of you who aren't familiar with Catrice, it was founded by Christina Osterdam and first opened its doors in Germany in 2004. In 2015, Catrice made its way to the US, and their goal remains the same: to celebrate makeup with high-quality ingredients, luxurious texture, and innovative formulas, all with a clean beauty standard. They're headquartered in Europe, which means that all of their products adhere to the high-quality standards set forth by the EU Cosmetics Regulation, which restricts over 1,500 ingredients from being used in beauty products. And as a basis of comparison, the US restricts just 11. Well, now let's dive in and start with eyeshadow. When I saw this limited edition Festive Treasures multi-use palette, I immediately fell head over heels due to the color story and the beautiful combination of shimmer and matte eyeshadows, as well as the lovely cream blush and cream highlight. And take a look at this packaging. And it also didn't hurt that it was also marked down from $10 to $8. Since I film my videos several weeks in advance, I'm not sure if this limited edition multi-use palette and the 2 accompanying limited edition Festive Treasures lipsticks, which we'll be checking out later, by the way, will still be available on sale, but I do hope so. And as always, I'll include links to all of the products that I'll be sharing with you in the description box and in the YouTube shopping section, which is directly below this video. Well, first, since these eyeshadow colors are so gorgeous, let me swatch all 6 of these for you. These first 2 are so close to my skin tone that they aren't going to show up very well, but the first one is right by my finger. Now, it does come with this little plastic cover, which is really nice because when you have cream products along with powder products, it's really nice if the powder can be kept away from the creams. And this helps at least a little bit. Since I've never tried any eyeshadows from Catrice, I'm really interested to see how they perform. I'm going to start off by combining the 2 mid-tone matte shades and applying them in the crease area. And I have applied eye primer, and over it I applied some powder, which makes powder eyeshadow glide on so much more easily. So these are very nice pinkish neutral colors. And I'm not getting a lot of fallout, which is good. I'm wondering if it's still cold where you are. As I mentioned, I film a little bit in advance, and we have definitely gone into another cold spell, unfortunately. I'm so looking forward to being able to walk outside again. Now let's go ahead with the deepest burgundy brown shade on the outer corner of the lid and crease. I'm just going to use an angled brush to pat this one in. Oh, this is a pretty color. Well, I must say, so far I'm very impressed with how these are applying. Even though we've hit a cold spell, what gives me hope is that spring training is starting in a couple of days. That's always been my barometer for, oh my gosh, spring is actually coming. But when I think spring, I always think of some rituals that we have. And the first one is going to the landscape arboretum near us to look at the redbud trees. And now let's do some blending. And in addition to the redbud trees, I love seeing a huge area where they have different colored iris planted. That is such a joy. And then there is the peony area, which is absolutely gorgeous as well. Oh, these blend beautifully. Since this is a festive holiday palette and it was designed for the winter season, I'm going to apply the lightest shimmer color in the middle of my eyelid and the deeper burgundy shimmer on the outer part of the lid and crease. This is a very, very light pink, but oh, it's so pretty. It just gives a soft highlight to the middle of the lid, which is exactly what I'm looking for. Now, of course, you could stay with a more neutral look with these colors also, but I'm going to go with the holiday motif. Now I'm going to go with this dazzling purple, which of course was the first color that really caught my eye in this palette. Wow, this is by far my favorite color. Because I have really deep set eyes, it's a little hard for me to get into this socket area, which is why this is taking me so much longer. And then we need to do some blending here. And I want to go back in with a little bit more of that pink to make these colors sort of glide into each other. And I'm taking a smaller brush and using those two mid-tone neutral colors to go across the bottom of the lid. And when I do my eyeliner, which is going to be in that deep brown burgundy, I will bring a little bit of that down here as well so it's more cohesive. Tilt my head back and close my eyes slightly just to see if I'm pretty equal with color on both sides. And I think I am. Well, I'll be back in a jiffy after I apply the deepest matte color as my eyeliner and apply mascara. Well, up next is foundation. The Catrice True Skin Hydrating Foundation has been a favorite of mine for really a long time. It's described as an ultralight texture that melts into the skin for a real skin finish, and that's exactly correct. It's formulated with hydrating hyaluronic acid and watermelon seed oil, provides medium to high coverage, and is long wearing. But unfortunately, the shade that I have, which is 018 Cool Rose, is a little too warm and dark for my skin tone. So I'm soon going to have to purchase the shade Cool Nude, which I think will be a much better match. But in the meantime, I can make this shade work. When I first purchased this foundation, Catrice didn't have a shade finder component on their website, but since they do have one now, it will be much easier to find a close shade match. To find your best Catrice shade, you can either put in a foundation shade that's a perfect match from another brand, or you can take a shade matching quiz. I'm going to go ahead and make this Cool Rose Catrice shade work by mixing it with L'Oreal's Age Perfect Radiant Serum Foundation in the shade Rose Ivory. When I add in the L'Oreal foundation, the result is a cooler shade and a satin soft glow finish, which I really love. And the Catrice foundation provides more coverage than the L'Oreal foundation, so it's a really nice match. I'll swatch both of these foundations so you can see the difference between them. The Catrice foundation is on top and the L'Oreal is underneath it. And as you can see, the Catrice foundation, even though it's called Cool Rose, has quite a bit of yellow in it. And the L'Oreal has more of a cool tone rose. Unfortunately, L'Oreal is discontinuing this Age Perfect line, which is really a shame. So it was specifically designed for those of us over 50. Okay, I think you can see that this does become a pretty good match when I combine the two. Unfortunately, for those of us who are cool toned, a lot of times foundations tend to run more toward the warm side. And I think you can see what good coverage the Catrice foundation does have. So we were talking about hopefully the coming of spring soon. So I'm wondering what your favorite signs of spring are, what you look forward to the most. And the other thing I always look forward to is the return of robins. Although some do winter over the winter, which I find really surprising. Those are brave birds. I'll never forget going to a zoo and conservatory, which happened to be open on New Year's Day. It was freezing cold. And what do you know, right outside the conservatory, we saw a robin sitting on the ledge. I couldn't believe it. Recently, for the very first time, I tried Catrice's Under Eye Brightener in the shade Light Rose for my under eye dark circles. After I apply it, I'll go ahead and top it with my Kosas concealer, and I'm using the Kosas concealer rather than my Catrice concealer under my eyes, because even though I have the Catrice concealer in the lightest cool tone shade, which is Cool Cashmere, it's just a little too dark for my under eye area. However, it is a really good concealer for the rest of my face. Let me show you the difference in tone between the Catrice concealer and the Kosas concealer. And one of the things I also love about this Kosas concealer is that this tip is very flexible. It makes it far easier to apply. The Kosas concealer is on top, and I think you can see how much lighter and brighter it is. So first I'm just going to tap on the under eye brightener, and normally I would use a small brush to do this so I can get it really more precisely into that dark circle area, but I managed to forget to bring down a brush, so it's going to be my fingers today. This really goes on very well. It's extremely moisturizing and creamy. And this does come in 3 other shades. This one is called Light Rose. And then I'll dot on the Kosas concealer. Kosas has just come out with a corrector shade, which I'm really interested in trying as well. And I just did a video just focusing on correctors, which I don't know if it's aired already or if it's going to air because I haven't scheduled some of my videos yet, but it was really interesting to try out a lot of different correctors. And although all of them worked fairly well, there were 2 or 3 that I thought really did the best job. So I hope you get a chance to see that video. Now, to prevent creasing, I'm going to pat on just a tiny bit of e.l.f. pink powder. Now, before I pat it on, I want to just make sure there's no creasing already. Now I'll go ahead and apply the Catrice concealer on the rest of my face. This concealer is also described as lightweight, and it's made with hyaluronic acid to moisturize our skin. It's also waterproof, and it's described as having high coverage, and it is indeed high coverage. So the test are my age spots over here. And I'm just going to pat it on, and I think you can see that it really covers them well. There's a really interesting test that can tell us how much coverage a concealer or foundation has, and that is to put a little bit across the vein on the underside of your wrist. And if the concealer or foundation truly covers up that vein, you know it has good coverage. I'm going to go ahead and do that with this concealer, and we'll see how it works. Here's that concealer, and I think you can see how well it covers up that vein. Since the blush in the Festive Treasures multi-use palette is a coral color, which is definitely not my best color, I have 2 other Catrice blush options that we can try today. The first option is the Catrice Blush Affair Cream and Powder Palette, which I first tried a few weeks ago. The cream or powder formula can be worn alone for a more natural look, or they can be layered for a slightly bolder, more multi-dimensional effect. This blush palette is very similar to the Patrick Ta blush duos, and in fact, the Catrice shade I'm using today, which is called Pleasing Pink, is a very close dupe to the She's a Doll shade in the Patrick Ta palette. Let me swatch both the Catrice and the Patrick Ta blush shades for you so you can take a look. The She's a Doll shade is on the far left. The Catrice cream is on top. Underneath is the Catrice powder, and then the Patrick Ta shades. I think the Patrick Ta powder at the bottom is a little bit lighter in color, but not by very much. These Catrice cream and powder blushes are highly pigmented and come in 3 other shades as well: Stunning Strawberry, Absolute Apricot, and Peach Passion. First, I'm just going to apply the powder, and then I'll apply the cream over the powder. I'm going to apply the Catrice powder and cream blush on just one side of my face, since we have 2 Catrice liquid blushes to try on the other side of my face. Since these cream and powder blushes are described as highly pigmented, it's especially important that they blend in easily. And so, just to be on the safe side, I'm going to apply them on the back of my hand first, and then pick them up with a brush to apply them. Let's see how they apply. So I picked it up, and I'm going to make sure it applies evenly on my brush. And then I'm going to pat it on, and we'll go with a little bit more. This is really a pretty color. It's not nearly as bright as it looks like in the palette, but of course you could build it up. And now let's go with the cream. This is a much deeper color, but as I sheer it out with the brush, it's really not looking all that scary. These really apply beautifully. Now, as I always do, I'm just going to go around the edge with my foundation brush, just to make sure it all blends in seamlessly. Before we move on to checking out the liquid blushes, I hope you'll take just a moment and give this video a thumbs up if you're enjoying it, or if you're finding it helpful. And also subscribe if you haven't already done so. Doing these 2 things is a really wonderful way to support this channel, so I am very grateful indeed if you do so. Now let's check out the Blush Affair liquid blushes. These give a highly pigmented flush of matte color that's infused with hydrating marshmallow root extract and can be used on both the lips and cheeks. These are described as being buildable, blendable, and long-lasting and come in a squeeze tube applicator. I have the shades Pink Feelings and Plumtastic, but they also come in 3 other shades: Orange Fizz, Ready Red Go, and Velvet Rose. Now it is extremely important to shake these very well before applying. In fact, the words "shake well" are highlighted on the front of the tube. And here's what these 2 colors look like. I'm first going to apply Pink Feelings, and then I'll apply a little bit of the Plumtastic over it. First the Pink Feelings. Now I already have some on here, as you can see, but these apply beautifully. And since they are liquid, they will most undoubtedly last longer than the cream blushes. And they blend in, meld into the skin really, really well. That is a gorgeous color. And just going around the edges with my brush. And I'm finding this color a little bit more interesting and attractive than the other color. Let's take a look at both. This is the powder and cream duo, and this is the liquid. Now, as you saw, the cream and powder duo seems to have already melted into my skin a bit, which is an issue with cream blush. It really doesn't last as long as liquid blush. So often what I do if I have a cream blush that I really love, I'll first apply it and then I'll spray a very lightly damp makeup sponge with setting spray and tap it over the cream blush, and then reapply the cream blush. And sometimes I'll even apply the setting spray one more time over it after I apply it a second time. That really helps cream blush last longer. Okay, let me take the deeper shade and apply it over it. And I kind of like the combination of these colors, actually. It creates more of a lilac look, which I am all about. And this is what they look like sheared out on the back of my hand. Now I have to say I love the ease of the powder and cream duo. It's just much easier to work with because of how much you have to shake these liquid blushes. But on the other hand, I really love the color and the application of these liquid blushes. They melt into the skin just as beautifully as the cream and powder do. And I would bet money on the fact that they last a whole lot longer. I was probably most excited today to try the Festive Treasures multi-use palette with the gorgeous eyeshadows and cream highlighter, but I was also pretty darn over the moon about applying the gorgeous lip products. I have the 2 limited edition Festive Treasures Hydrating Shine Lipsticks, which come in a rose shade and a deeper red shade. I'm also excited about the formula since it's described as being a dazzling shimmer with a soft hydrating texture that keeps the lips smooth and supple. Let me swatch these for you. Here are the 2 colors. And although I'm not normally moved one way or the other by packaging, I do have to confess that my heart skipped a beat when I saw this really lovely velvet packaging with golden accents. And I was also irresistibly drawn to one of Catrice's matte lipsticks as well. It's the shade Casually Overdressed. And I think you'll see why I was so drawn to it when I swatch it. This type of pink lavender shade at the bottom is one of my favorites. My next Catrice order may just have to also include these 2 other matte lipstick shades, one called Good Intentions and one called Go Bold, Go Home. Now I do feel a bit like a kid in a candy shop with all these gorgeous lip colors, so let's go ahead and try them. After applying my lip liner, I'll first apply the lightest Festive Treasures rose shade, then the darker one on top of it, and then the matte shade. So here is the lightest rose shade, and I have to say that these glide on beautifully. They feel wonderful on the lips. Now over it, I'm going to apply the deeper red shade, and we'll see what kind of combination we get. Now, of course, this would be much deeper if I just applied the darker color alone, but I rather like this combination. And here's what the deepest shade by itself looks like. And then one last try on. Let's go ahead and try the matte color by itself. And here's the matte lipstick. Now, just for a tiny bit more shimmer, I'm going to tap a very small amount of the cream highlighter shade onto the center of my lips, and I'll also apply it on the top of my cheekbones. First, we'll apply it on the top of the cheekbones. Oh, this is pretty. Can you see the lovely soft glow it's providing? And it's so creamy, it feels great on the skin. And now just a dab on my lips. Catrice is a brand that I always look forward to trying, and the new products that I tried today that I especially loved were the eyeshadows and the lipsticks. And the foundation, concealer, and powder and cream blush duo will continue to be my favorites. But I was quite pleasantly also surprised by the liquid blushes. They have faded a bit like the cream and powder, but not as much. Although the squeeze tube applicator, I have to confess, isn't my favorite. If you have any Catrice products that you especially love, I hope you'll share them with us in the comment section below. And if there are any products that I tried today that especially piqued your interest, please let us also know what those are as well. If you, like me, are a real fan of great drugstore products, you might also want to check out this video, which I'll link in the pinned comment section below as well in the description box. Until our paths cross again, I wish you good health and happiness, and I hope you have a fabulous rest of your day. Take care.